It's Cindy's choice to be brave and make a difference. Cindy here. Thank you. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm with Tommy Taylor of Thomas Taylor CPA, a Cindy's Choice CPA. And I love talking entrepreneurship with you, Tommy. And of course, it's my passion. That's what Cindy's Choice is about. But it's your passion too.
Yes, working with entrepreneurs. I really like working with the local owner that wants to do their business for a reason. They're not just in it. They're in it for the money. Obviously, they want to make a living, but they have a dream. They have a passion, a drive to do a certain thing.
I love that because, I get asked a lot, Cindy, how are you doing this? Because you know my story.
Right.
Literally, and y'all go listen to Cindy's Choice podcast 1 through 18. It'll give you the highlights of the story. But literally, I bootstrapped Cindy's Choice from being homeless on the streets. And people go, how are you doing this? Well, I can give you a whole list of things. But the main reason this is working is because there's purpose. Right. There's purpose behind it. It's driven by a passion. And it is driven to serve. Like we've had another conversation about how important it is to be focused on serving, and it works. And I'm so loving to get to share that with people, because what I want to dig in here today is about starting a business. And from bootstrapping, bootstrapping means starting with the resources at hand.
Right.
Tommy, when you're homeless on the streets, sleeping in your truck, you don't have many resources at all.
No, you don't.
And about the time you get started, that truck gets repoed. I'm telling you, you're just like, it's tough. But if that doesn't demonstrate the power of passion, the power of purpose, I don't know what else will. Right. And so I love that I have that testimony that to encourage and empower business owners, because it's hard. It's really, you can't go in there thinking, it's going to be all daisies and rainbows. But it's so rewarding and so fulfilling.
But you got to be careful as a business owner, especially an entrepreneur starting out, to just shrinking in your shell. You really need to still focus and talk to people in your industry or people that have done what you've done. And hey, when you were here, how did you react? What are some ideas you can give me, something you did to get me through this?
And that is so good, because that's what we're kind of creating here. That's why, I endorse and build a platform and drive traffic to cindyschoice.com so they can find integrity-centric businesses like Thomas Taylor CPA. But I'm like, you know what? We want to help other business owners. We want to help other people get encouraged and get started. You have a lot of knowledge that you love sharing. Right. And I love that you brought that up, because more than ever, through these extensive seasons of isolation, it really gets tough, because you've got to be more intentional than ever about reaching out and getting the support and the help that you need. But that mentorship or networking or, tapping in with your peers, whatever you want to call it, is definitely vital.
Yeah, I would recommend anybody that's starting their own business, do a lot of different things, but one of them is find a handful of friends, specifically some in your business, some outside your business, to say, can we spend some time together over the phone every now and then, and they just bounce some ideas off of you, and so you can get a feel for where I am, to where if I get in a rut, you can kick me and say, get out of this rut.
Exactly. And I got to tell you, I've got to mention our producer Landon again, because, it all bounces around in this head, but just having someone to sort with, because it was just me for so long. Now, I'm an extensive networker and involved in lots of associations, organizations. So I have a lot of peer support, but actually just being able, because I'll remind him now, a lot of this is for me, but being able to sort and have someone to have an exchange with and get that feedback is so important. There's just things you're not going to recognize in that, that's boxed in your own head.
Right. I mean, I mentioned earlier that I believe that a lot of people can do a few things really well, but they can't do everything well. And you do, I think it was 7 things 100 times versus 100 things 7 times, to where you have to lean on some other people sometime and get some advice from them. But we've got YouTube out there. You can learn how to fix this and fix that.
Exactly.
But you cannot learn how to think this way all the time. You have to rely on other people that have been through that. I mean, yes, you can learn things on YouTube. You can learn it through research. But sometimes the people that have been through it know the emotion of it, know the timing of it. Hey, they may have, even Chattanooga may be different than Denver.
I love hearing this coming from a CPA because y'all are kind of the stereotypical CPA is like closed up in the office, getting the work done like not. But it is that you've known to get intentional. You can't just be in your office all day, dealing with the bottom line. We need a support system.
Yeah, I enjoy going down there and playing with the numbers, as a lot of people say. But at the same time, if there's no people behind those numbers, no purpose behind those numbers, no products behind those numbers, they get boring pretty quick. But if you all of a sudden realize, hey, this is what those numbers mean, this is the business it represents, the numbers take on a different character.
Well, what would you say? Somebody right now is listening and they want to start a business. And they've had an idea, or they do something. Most common is somebody that does something really good, but then there's also that person that just has a great idea. What kind of advice from your vast experience would you kind of tell someone? What direction would you tell them to start thinking in?
Well, the first thing is if you have a passion for something, I'd rather have the passion than the talent, because there's a lot of people that do things well, but not a lot of people are passionate about what they do. And then once they decided, hey, I really want to do this, then you got to figure out how you want to organize. Do you want to be a partnership? Do you want to be a corporation? Do you want to be an LLC? Do you want to be a sole proprietor? Those decisions are pretty important because they set you up for success in the future. Not that you can't change a little bit of that, but you probably need to talk with a CPA and an attorney and get some ideas. This is not a huge expense to come up with the ideas. It may cost a little bit for the business to be formed, but at least you'll know it going in, what your costs are, and now let that passion take over. Is this something I want to do or not?
And you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
It's like if a good CPA like Thomas Taylor will like consult with you. Otherwise, it's not just about getting your work to do your taxes. You want them to be successful. But I love that you bring up the passion, because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm a starter, and I've successfully started. I started a fashion business, an advertising business, a construction business. And people were kind of like surprised because they saw me like get something going and succeeding, that I kind of let that go. And none of those were my passion.
Right.
I got excited about the starting and the growing and, the goal. But once I kind of got it going, getting something going is one challenge, but keeping it going and growing it is a whole nother monster. Right. And, I didn't have the passion for that particular industry. I had the passion for building. Right. And so I had to sit back after the last one and really think. Of course, I've had this vision for Cindy's Choice in a long time, but I've got to okay, I can start. But I got to start something that when I get to that point, because that's the toughest part, that I'm passionate enough to push through. And I can't tell you how many times with my Cindy's Choice platform and when I'm sharing in real time on the radio, I could see why I didn't get this far before.
Yeah.
Because it does. There's times like I would have, you feel that little rush of, I can't do this, or there's no way I'm gonna let somebody down. That was always my big fear, is I'm gonna promise and not be able to follow through on an obligation, and that would cause me. No, I can't go farther. And
what happens when everybody calls at the same time?
Exactly. It's like it's this time the passion is there. Where I know this is what I'm meant to be. I'm meant to do. This is meant to be, and so I'm able to push through. And I can't tell you how many levels I've gotten to where I'm like, oh, I see why I didn't get this far before, and I'd gotten so far. I got farther than most before. But it's you. I think the passion thing is that's a great way to start with encouraging someone. Okay, so somebody's got the passion. They visited with a couple professionals, a CPA, maybe an attorney. What would you suggest as far? Well, we talked about their peers. They're like, because this is what I love that we've demonstrated with Cindy's Choice, Tommy. I am just now really getting focused on social media. People tend to think that, I want to start a business. Just, I've got social media. It's free. I'll get lots of, people involved on
get a website and a bank account and you're off to the races.
It doesn't work that way. No, and it reminds me like my construction business, the commercial real estate agents did not like me in Houston, Texas, because, restaurants are common business to grow. 3 of 4 of them, by average, do not succeed.
Right.
And as a contractor, I would be called to bid the finish out on a space. This would be like a first time restaurant owner, saved all the money they could. And, they had their budget to get the kitchen finished out and get their restaurant built. Right. Well, I'd show up with the commercial realtor and them, and we're walking around, and I'm taking down my notes to bid the project, and I'd start asking them, well, have you thought about your POS system? Have you considered security? And I was like, because I care. Right. And I'm asking about these other things, and their eyes are just getting bigger and bigger. It's like they just expected to build a restaurant, open the doors, and people would come. And of course, that commercial realtor is about to wring my neck.
Right.
And the other, but other contractors didn't care. They just wanted to get that, because what would commonly happen, they would get that bid to finish out that restaurant. That restaurant would last 6 months, maybe a year. And then that lined up like another restaurant to come in cheaper, because that poor restaurant had invested most of the work into that. And I'm like, no.
A new coat of paint and a new business.
Yeah. It's like there's so much more. The marketing, and it's one of the hardest things to it's marketing is investment, and people don't understand that it doesn't have that immediate return. It's seeds. Marketing is planting. It's
farming.
Exactly. You've got to plant those seeds, and sprouts will come, and then at some point there's a harvest that you get way more return. It seems like that's some of the hardest dollars for people to spend.
It is hard dollars because you don't see immediate results, and sometimes it's hard to quantify. We're in the business of quantifying things, and it's sometimes hard to quantify. You have to have a very long range horizon to see some of those results.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, you could start a website and a bank account, and you think you're off for the races. Well, you may have spent a lot of money and have done absolutely nothing.
I kind of, because I have to be careful, because I kind of cringe sometimes, because I see people, they post their business card, and they got their IE number or whatever. I'm in business, you want to reach out and go, there's more in store. But that's what this is about.
Right.
You can tune in and get some real-time stories, and we'll get into some more storytelling. I can't wait. Rick Worley and Son, that's on board with us. He has an incredible story with Rick Worley and Son, Inc., a collision center. Tim Vitullo, the joint chiropractic, who lived here. He's a pharmacist by trade, but his passion for preventative care, and affordable preventative care at that, allowed him to introduce the joint back into the Chattanooga area. So that's the kind of business owners that we're attracting, is people on a mission, and there's some great stories behind there. Okay, so we've covered getting the right people in place as far as the right professionals, CPA, your attorney,
right,
peer group. Kind of think about your marketing. Don't expect just to get something going and expect people to find you. You've got to plan, because I've started so many things. I knew I got to give it a year. It's like it takes a year. Cindy's Choice was different. I started it from the streets for one thing, but nobody knew me. But it was so unique and so different. And I'm building a brand of trust, and that's not like a one-on-one exchange. But it was a little different challenge, but I was prepared for that because I'd started enough things. But I was kind of used to, I'd get anything going in a year, but it was kind of a rude awakening when it didn't happen that quick for Cindy's Choice. But you've got to, when I talk about bootstrapping, so many businesses, they start without capital, and it can be done.
It's hard.
It's really, really hard. But even when you, like those that start with capital, the majority of them don't succeed.
Right.
If you don't get some guidance and some help with, how to manage that money and spend it correctly to last you, and if you're not investing in marketing during that time, where when that money taps out, there is a return coming in, that's really risky.
Well, marketing's not always expensive in dollars. Sometimes it's more expensive in time, and you've got to be sure to manage that.
Yes.
The marketing, like we always say, everything has a purpose. Marketing has to have a purpose. Just to get your name out there at the beginning may not be the best thing to do. We need to get what you do out there, because it's not who you know, it's who knows you. So they've got to know who you are and what you do. They don't really need to know why you do it on day one. They will need to know that eventually, because that's when they see your passion. And they
Exactly.
want to do business with people that enjoy what they
And
do.
it works. And that's what I've been allowed to demonstrate with starting, literally from the streets. I was literally like couch surfing when I started Cindy's Choice, but getting out there, nobody knew me. Well, how could I build a brand of trust? Why would it help me to promote on social media what I was doing? I had to get out there and get involved and serve on boards in the Chamber of Commerce and join BNI and get out there and demonstrate who I was and, build that trust and respect in the community. And then I started investing. I invested in radio. I invested in TV. I invested in print. And people are like, they've been telling me to do a podcast for 2 years. And I am just now really paying attention to social media and doing a podcast because, 3 years ago, who would have found my podcast? Who would want to go here?
3 years ago, what was a podcast?
Yeah. Well, no, they were telling me then. It was like, but because it's a economical way, like, oh, it's free. Everybody's doing one. I go, yeah, but it doesn't help you to go and, produce this platform if nobody's finding you.
Right.
If you haven't, what you just said, if you haven't built your reputation.
Right.
So I went out there and built the reputation first. Now I'm coming around to amplify with social media and the podcast. But it's, people are like, everybody's jumping on social media. And I'm like, you get the value, of that exchange. I love too what you said about meaning that you get what you pay for is what I was trying to say. But I love what you said about your time. You do have to, in the beginning, all my time was marketing.
Right.
That's all I could do. But at some point you get busier. And there is a trade-off where, you have to measure when you start investing more in your marketing and doing less yourself.
Well, it comes a time where, hey, I'm not the only one doing this. I've got to hire someone. And then you're thinking dollars and time, and it gets confusing. That's where you really need a plan before you get too far down the road. When am I going to, what time do I need to hire somebody? What time do I need to maybe change my marketing a little bit to where I may want to slow this down or I may want to speed it up? But, it's not going to be it's going to be a plan in pencil because it's going to change. Every day it's going to be different. So you don't want to plan so tight that you don't have any choice but to do this. You want the freedom to follow your passion and to share it with others to where your employees really want to work with you, not just work for you. They want to work with you.
Exactly. It's just that win-win experience. A lot I talk about is a fair value exchange. It's got to work both ways. Well, it's always awesome to chat with you. I look forward to more of these quick exchanges with you. There's lots more to share about business ownership, entrepreneurship, and getting businesses started. And we'll be hearing more on a regular basis from Thomas Taylor CPA, a Cindy's Choice. But for today, we're going to wrap up, leaving you with love, wanting you to lead with love. Seek first to understand and go make good choices. Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you, Cindy.